I'm glad you stopped by. We have an important look at more information that has been stolen from you by pretending it is not important and refusing to teach it. We are going to prove that the 144,000 are to judge God's people on this earth now in the days of the waiting, watching time, which work has been going on and forward since the opening of the third angel's message on October 23, 1844, and that the saints are figured by angels. So we have John 7:24, judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. So this will become more apparent as we move along here. Romans 4:15 in part says, for where no law is, there is no transgression. And Romans 5:13, sin is not imputed when there is no law. Numbers 15:29, ye shall have one law for him that sinneth through ignorance, both for him that is born among the children of Israel and for the stranger that sojourneth among them. We know that God is just and provides for the sins of ignorance. Then we have 1 Peter 2 and verse 9. But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, an holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. And we have some important information here. The 1858 Great Controversy, also known as Spiritual Gifts, Volume 1, page 205. Those who had died in faith under the third angel's message, keeping the Sabbath, are resurrected to complete the number of 144,000. Now, this is real important to understand. We have several other videos with this information in it and more in addition. But this is the qualifier of those to be resurrected. They had to have died in faith under the third angel's message, keeping the Sabbath. And that's a real important point, is that comma. So there's two items here. It is not just the third angel's message. They have to have kept the Sabbath. Now, James White qualifies exactly what the third angel's message really is. He says, I repeat it, the three messages symbolize the three parts of the genuine movement. That which has appeared, not symbolized by the three angels, though it be branded Adventism, is spurious. And further, he defines the true message, and he says, but what shall we understand by the words, bind up the testimony? The testimony to be bound up among the disciples of Christ must be the testimony of Jesus Christ, spoken of in connection with the commandments of God. It is spoken of by the prophet in connection with sealing the law, which is the law of God or 10 Commandments. This may refer to the whole testimony of Jesus Christ, which is to be kept by the remnant of the church just before Jesus comes. In order for the whole testimony of Jesus to be kept by the church, Attention must be paid to those portions which have long been trodden down, and thus the testimony that has been torn asunder be bound up. If reference is made only to that portion of the testimony of Jesus which may be called present truth, then we see a clear fulfillment by those who teach the message of the third angel. Those who present this message understandingly must first show the fulfillment of the messages of the first and second angels in the past Advent movement. Thus, they chain all three messages together, show their harmony and the fulfillment of God's word in them. And the testimony relative to the second coming of Christ is bound up. Now, proof of the failure of the Seventh Adventist Church leadership is they keep repeating Matthew 24:14 and asking for more money to finish the work, when, in fact, the work was finished before October 22, 1844. So it's important to remember that even though there are going to be certain persons who they're going to be saved, but they have not died in faith under the third angel's message, keeping the Sabbath. So there is a certain part of ignorance on their part because they did not understand in its entirety the third angel's message. Why is that? That's because, as we said right at the very beginning, this is critical information that it was pretending it was not important and refusing to teach it. So that's what the church has done. And there are a lot of people who are ignorant of the true third angel's message. So that's the purpose of this channel, is to make that information public and allow people to get the truth, have access to it. Now we have Jeremiah 6:27. I have set thee for a tower and a fortress among my people. Now we know that this is the 144,000. That's who these are. That thou mayest know and try their way. You know what try means? When you go to a trial, the judge is going to try you. Okay, what about Matthew 7 and verse 1? It says, judge not, that ye be not judged. And the answer is found in the next verse. For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. Now, we know that we are to be judged for heaven or not. So here's more proof. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, if thou wilt walk in my ways, and if thou wilt keep my charge, then thou shalt also judge my house. All right, so we have laid the foundation for our main point, and we're going to be in Matthew chapter 13 almost exclusively here, and we're going to read some of this material, not all of it. We're starting out in verse 10. And the disciples came and said unto him, why speakest thou unto them in parables? He answered and said unto them, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. For whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away even that he hath. And in 2 Thessalonians 2:10, we have a good answer. It is because they received not the love of the truth. Now, this means received not. This word received means that something had to be given to them in order to be received, but they refused it. Like Esau, they refused, and these people have refused, and they received not the love of the truth that they might be saved. And what does it say in verse 13? Therefore speak I to them in parables, because they, seeing, see not, and hearing, they hear not, neither do they understand. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, which saith, By hearing ye shall hear, and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see, and shall not perceive. For this people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest at any time they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and should understand with their heart, and should be converted, and I should heal them. Fearful denunciation of refusing to receive a love of the truth. This, which means, of course, that they are receiving lies because they would rather have a lie. Verse 16, But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For verily I say unto you that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which ye see, and have not seen them, and to hear those things which ye hear, and have not heard them. Amazing. Now we're skipping over a portion here and picking up in verse 24. And it's another parable he put forth unto them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat, and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then hath it tares? He said unto them, An enemy hath done this. The servants said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, Nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of harvest I will say to the reapers, Gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. So this engenders a couple of questions. When is the time of harvest? And who are the reapers? Well, we're going to skip two more parables and go to verse 34. All these things spake Jesus unto the multitude in parables, and without a parable spake he not unto them, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet, saying, I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter things which have been kept secret from the foundation of the world. Then Jesus sent the multitude away and went into the house. And his disciples came unto him, saying, Declare unto us the parable of the tares of the field. He answered and said unto them, He that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. There we have it, plain as day. Verse 40, As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. Now this is a key point. It harkens back to Matthew 24:14. This gospel of the kingdom be preached in all the world, then shall the end come. But that was accomplished just prior to October 22, 1844, and we have been in the end of this world since that time, 176 years now. Verse 41, The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Now, what does this mean? Acts 7:54 is talking about the stoning of Stephen, and when they went to grab him, it says they gnashed on him with their teeth. So this gnashing of teeth shows and demonstrates an anguish of spirit. Very interesting. And these angels are going to cast them into a furnace of fire. When the angels speak, they speak truth. That is what God speaks. And these angels, as we're going to see, are actually the 144,000, are the ones living at that time anyway. And what are they speaking? Well, John the Baptist is a representation or representative of the 144,000. And according to Christ's own words in John 5:35, John the Baptist was God's Word, speaking God's Word. And this is what got Stephen into trouble with and caused them to gnash on him with their teeth. And this furnace of fire is God's Word is a fire. That's Isaiah 29, chapter 29, I think it's 23, verse 23. But check it out. Prove me now. And this furnace of fire is exactly what the Sanhedrin experienced just before they stoned Stephen and gnashed on him with their teeth. And I think that's a perfect example of what Christ is talking about here in this parable. And he's telling the disciples the truth. Okay, verse 43. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear. And we're skipping a little more here, and then we got 3 more verses. Verse 47, again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a net that was cast into the sea and gathered of every kind, which, when it was full, they drew to shore and sat down, and gathered the good into vessels, but cast the bad away. So shall it be at the end of the world. The angels shall come forth and sever the wicked from among the just, and shall cast them into the furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. I want you to remember Ezekiel chapter 9. This is real important stuff, because those 6 angels, one man among them had a writer's inkhorn by his side, and that angel represents the 144,000. That these things are so is further proven by God's testimony to us in plain English, found on page 8 of the original authentic testimony, and we're also going to look at page 26. So here we are, and over here on page 8, right up here, the second full paragraph. The terrible iniquity abounding calls for the greatest diligence, and for the living testimony, what? To keep sin out of the church. So, if you don't have these testimonies, I highly recommend that you get them and get them downloaded and capture them. Nevertheless, this is very important information here. The living testimony, which is to keep sin out of the church. And I highly recommend that you read this information in the first, at least half of testimony number 23. It is clearly about our time. Now we're going to go to page 26, right here. And we have, down here you have to look at my cursor. Let's see, get this just right. It says, I have been shown that all are not fitted to correct the erring. So this is very important information. Some sins are so bad and so blatant that you just have to stand up and literally push these people out of the church. There's a local church here, Sandpoint, Idaho, that has a gay person or a transgender or something like that, who they have made they made this person an elder in the church. And the only reason that man has not been kicked out is because he's wealthy and he donates large amounts of money to the church from time to time, especially to get his own way. And it's ridiculous. God's church is not for sale and heaven is not for sale. And everyone needs to separate themselves from this kind of nonsense. But when it comes to people sinning ignorantly and erring on the side of wrong, not all are fitted to correct the erring. It's real important information. Okay. What we have done now is proven that the 144,000 are to judge God's people on this earth now in the days of the waiting, watching time, which work has been going forward since the opening of the third angel's message on October 23, 1844, and that the saints are represented spiritually by angels. God bless your study.